12:05 right now. You're listening to 90.3 FM and the Wednesday edition of Helping Seniors of Brevard. Right now, let's go to the host of the show. Here's Kerry Fink. Good afternoon, Kerry.
Hey, John Harper, thank you. It's always good to be in the radio studio on behalf of Joe Steckler, our president and founder, Kim Bernard, our education and information specialist, and just really the whole Helping Seniors team. We always have a good time with the radio show and encourage you to invite everyone you know to join us Wednesdays. Let's have a lunch hour together, 12 noon to 1 p.m. right here on 90.3 FM WEJF. And we have a couple of great guests and some interesting things that we're going to cover today. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce them, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about a great conversation Joe and I had yesterday about some things that you'll be able to see on Helping Seniors updates. But in the studio with us today, we have none other than, and I'm going to try this, John Roberts of Palm Bay Hearing Aid Center. You are a nationally board certified hearing instrument.
Board certified
in hearing instrument
science. Aha.
Well, I'm getting closer. I'm gonna get this before we get through with this, but that's pretty impressive. But basically, it means you know what you're doing when it comes to hearing aids.
I would hope so.
And we're going to talk a little bit today with John about a couple of topics. There's a great column if you've picked up your Senior Scene magazine, and if you got the Helping Seniors columns there in the section. We call it kind of the yellow pages because it has that distinctive yellow border. And you have an article there called Hearing Loss and Crucial Connections. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that, but we're also going to talk about a question that comes up way so often as people maybe watch TV and get bombarded with commercials saying, oh, you could just get an over-the-counter hearing aid. And we're going to talk a little bit about that and what the pluses and or minuses of that idea could be as we go along. And then our other guest in the studio today is Dr. Kevin Kilday, another longtime friend of the Helping Seniors organization. Now, Dr. Kevin is best known as being a holistic health practitioner. He's also the operator of Holistic Health Center, and he's got a lot of expertise in areas having to do with holistic cancer therapies. You also do a lot of work with addiction recoveries, and you're also kind of a specialist in holistic pain relief as well.
Yes. I help people with with chronic pain, using herbal supplements as opposed to the opioids that are highly addictive, and clinically study herbs have work just as well as the opioids or the over-the-counter medications. Long-term use is not good either. So the herbal pain relief is something that I offer. Yes.
Now, that's good. And you've got an article in this month's edition of the Senior Scene magazine, Helping Seniors newsletter, called Your Medications Could Be Causing Nutrient Depletion. We're going to touch on that, but we're also going to talk a little bit about some of the testing and things that you do. You've got some articles coming out on that, I think, in the May edition, if I remember what we were talking about correctly before the show.
Yes, in the upcoming edition of Senior Scene magazine, I have an article coming out of some new testing that we're doing, and I call it the 4-in-1 test. It's actually a sensitivity test. It tests for food sensitivities, even non-food sensitivities, such as you may have a allergic reaction to fabrics or latex, things like that. Also, your sensitivity to metals.
Yep.
And last, it gives you an analysis of your vitamins, the vitamins that you're deficient in. So
wow,
it's a great 4-in-1 test, I call it.
Yeah, well, we've got a lot to get to in this show, and as I said from the outset, I wanted to cover, there's a Helping Seniors update out on the Facebook, and if you remember what we do, and we started this practice during the COVID times when we couldn't get into the TV studio and really do the normal Helping Seniors TV that we like to do, we thought, well, there's got to be a way to keep folks in Brevard County up to speed on the different things, because if you remember, it wasn't that long ago, it was 14 months ago or so that we we were first being told, let's give it 30 days to slow the spread. And everything was just kind of threw everything up in the air. And so we were trying to find a way that we would be able to react and keep seniors throughout Brevard County updated, literally in their homes, so they could just go to the Facebook page or the YouTube channel and just kind of get an almost daily kind of update of what was going on. And during that time, Kim Bernard, our information specialist, was hunting down resources. I mean, it was incredible. She was trying to figure out, where you could get food, where you could get even pet food. That became kind of a crisis. People was like, well, I might have some food at the house, but I still gotta feed Fido and all those kind of things. And so anyway, we've kept the Helping Seniors updates going. Both of you guys, John Roberts from Palm Bay Hearing Aid Center and Dr. Kevin Kilday with the Holistic Health Center, have been guests on that many times along the way, and we were all together kind of feeling our way through it. But we still keep that going because it's a great way to get information out. And so yesterday I had the privilege of talking with our president and founder, Joe Steckler, and we talked actually about a couple of subjects. One, I guess I would call it kind of selfish to us, but it's very necessary. And that is the Helping Seniors. It's also fun. It's the Helping Seniors car raffle. And that's our major fundraiser for the year. And so Joe and I had a good conversation. He and AJ Hires, who is the supercar dealer here in Brevard County, they go way back. And so for years, even back when Joe was getting the whole Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation off the ground and running, he sat down with AJ, and together they came up with the idea of using these car raffles to help us keep our nonprofit going. And so now this is our 5th annual Helping Seniors car raffle. And Joe and AJ sat down and worked out so that the winner gets to pick a 2021 Chevrolet Camaro, a 2021 Dodge Challenger, a 2021 Kia Sportage, which is a really cool little SUV kind of practical crossover vehicle, and or a really fun, peppy little Mazda Miata convertible, which you look really cute in, like tooling around in. And the winner gets to pick October 9th, 2021, Saturday, October 9th, 2021, at the American Muscle Car Museum. So when you get your ticket, one ticket for $25, 5 for a $100 donation. You're actually doing 3 things. You're supporting the work of Helping Seniors, very important, because we can't do this without your help. Number 2, we give you a chance to pick the winning car if you're the winner. And number 3, you're going to have a great time at the American Muscle Car Museum in all cases, because you will be able to be there that night and enjoy Mark Pylock's astounding collection. It's something like, I'm trying to remember the numbers, 60, 70, $80 million worth of cars under his roof. It's just fantastic, and he's gracious enough to open that up for us so that we can have our grand drawing there October 9th. So have you guys figured out which car you like best out of the 4? Do you have a favorite, Dr. Kevin?
Well, I'm since I'm a former motorcycle rider, I like to have the just the breeze blowing through my hair and my ears and stuff. So I kind of like the Miata.
Well, that would be interesting, because last year I think if I remember correctly, John Harper, your favorite is the Dodge Challenger. He's nodding and saying the Dodge Challenger would be his pick, right?
Yeah, that is a very sharp car, and they appear to be very popular, and you see a lot of those on the road.
Yeah, and so how about you, John Roberts with Palm Bay Hearing Aid Center? Do you have a favorite out of the 4? Like if they said, "Hey, you won the raffle," what would you pick?
Well, as a conservative, safety-minded consumer, I'd have to look real close at that Miata.
We were talking about this. We started this thing last year in promoting the car raffle, where we had a thing called the Dodge versus Chevy Challenge. So we had I think the ladies from Hibiscus Court versus the ladies at Seniors Helping Seniors. They both picked like a side and then started driving these cars around and were giving their reactions to it. And we were talking about this year we got to expand it because we need somebody to represent the Mazda Miata. And here it is.
There you go.
We found 2 gentlemen who are like all about the Mazda Miata. That's terrific. You know, I still think the practical side out of me might win over. And as much as I think all the cars are cool, it still might be the Kia, which is a really cool car as well. So, but you got to be in it to win it. If you don't get your ticket, you're not gonna be able to win it. You're going to miss out the big party, and certainly we will miss out on having your help in helping seniors. So how do you get your tickets? There's a couple of ways. HelpingSeniorsCarRaffle.com. HelpingSeniorsCarRaffle.com. Couldn't be simpler to get there. You can also call 321-473-7770. I'll give that number again. It's 321-473-7770. And Kim Bernard will be happy to get you set up with tickets. You can also pick up tickets, right? You gentlemen are each pickup places, right? You can pop by Palm Bay Hearing Aid Center because you've got tickets on site.
We sure do. Melanie will take care of you. Just walk in.
And same with you, Dr. Kevin. You've got tickets available, so as you're meeting with clients, you can get them squared away too.
That is correct, yes.
So however you get your tickets, get involved in it. That was one of the things that Joe and I were talking about yesterday, probably on a more serious basis and still very important. We were talking about the Brevard County government has gotten a tremendous amount of funding for what they call an emergency rental you need help with your rent is what I'm trying to say. There's a fancier term for it, but in essence, that's what it is. They can help you if you're having trouble with your rent and have some government funds to do so. Now, what Joe and I were talking about on the Helping Seniors update is that the application is pretty complicated. It's like 7 or 8 pages, and you have to really try to maneuver the questions correctly, but the help is there. And so the net point was that's one of the reasons Helping Seniors operates that senior information helpline is because we exist to help people navigate the things that we run into, because help is there. So if you're having trouble with your rent or those things, there could be help available. The third thing, and this is one of the important things that we do as Helping Seniors, people say, what do you guys do as a charity? Why should I support you? Number one, for 10 plus years now, we've operated the County Senior Information Line. That's that free call, 321-473-7770. And that connects you to our education specialist, and her job is to connect you, the caller, to resources that are probably going to advance that situation, whatever the problem that you're facing. And we get them all levels: housing, financial, legal, transportation, medical, you name it. There's a different question every time the phone rings. But that's what we exist to do. But the second thing we do is we provide informational outreach, just like we're doing on the Helping Seniors radio show. We do the magazines, we do the TV. You can't pick up a newspaper without seeing Joe's column, and he's got good information for seniors. But the third thing we do is we advocate for seniors. And so Joe has not only been writing articles, but we talked a little bit about a thing that most people have never even heard of called the Sadowski Fund. And that was a thing that part of the taxes that are paid into the state of Florida are designed to help people with affordable housing. And that's one of the biggest challenges if you've even looked at what's going on with house prices or rental house prices or even apartment prices. They have just gone up through the roof. And so you can imagine if you're trying to make it along on a Social Security check, it's going to be a real tough road. And so affordable housing becomes really important. So years ago, the Florida State Legislature created a thing called the Sadowski Fund, where a portion of the money was supposed to be put in a trust fund separated so that it was available to the different communities to help them define and improve the situation regarding affordable housing. But apparently, like often happens with trust funds, we rob from Peter to pay Paul. And so now what Joe was reporting yesterday, if I have it all right, and that's why I want to encourage you to go back and view the video, is that they're apparently talking about maybe permanently trying to divert some of those funds. And so if we don't stand up and say, listen, seniors on fixed incomes, you can't do this to them. I mean, it's too important. But, the rest of us, maybe we could take a second job. Maybe we could, work a little harder or something. But if you're a senior and what you've got to work with is your Social Security check, not much is going to change for you. So that's some of the important things that we do from the Helping Senior side. But look for that. It's the Helping Seniors Update with Joe Steckler. So kind of with that out of the way, let's move a little further. Let's talk a little bit about hearing aids. We were joking as we were testing microphones before the show. It was like, well, maybe do we need to check our hearing aids or something like that? But it really is a serious matter, isn't it, John? I mean, what you've described is that, particularly in an era where we're still wearing masks and things like that, and you can't even really read lips or get verbal cues maybe the way we had before, this hearing stuff is serious.
Yeah, it really is. I think the masks have really kind of maybe shown people that wouldn't normally even think about it, what it's like to have difficulty understanding people. So when you're conversing with somebody, especially when you're in competitive noise, up to 60% of your ability to understand speech is actually visual. Not necessarily lip reading, but we call it speech reading, because people do talk with their bodies quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And when you go to a gas station or a grocery store and there is a glass between you and the person that's serving you, there's kids out in the area, noise from carts and music playing loudly sometimes. Even people with acute hearing can have a difficulty understanding, and do. So you can imagine living like that at all times, in all environments. And that kind of gives you an idea of how serious hearing loss really is. People don't really recognize it because under certain environments, in a quiet room with no competitive noise, a person with a very advanced hearing loss can appear to hear fine. And when they suddenly don't have the response that you're looking for, or they're acting oddly or not paying attention, people don't understand what's causing these reactions. So that causes isolation and anxiety, stress, a whole host of problems that can lead to other health problems like high blood pressure and sleep issues. The list is just endless for people that do have a hearing loss. So I think that the awareness and the significance of hearing loss is really underappreciated in society.
And that is a question that I know we talked about, because when I guess the traditional non-expert thinks about hearing loss, it's all of a sudden, well, they're just not hearing, things need to be louder. And what you've taught me is that that's not really what happens. Is certain frequencies start to drop out, and so it's not necessarily that the volume is what's being impacted, but it's your ability to discern things at certain places that are kind of critical for understanding speech and other things.
Exactly. Yeah. If you make things louder for the average hearing loss, you're just going to make things more unclear. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, if it were that simple, we wouldn't have the technology that we use to assist people, which has just increased at an incredible rate in the last 20 years.
Yeah, and one of the things, because I guess that's one of the things I sort of remember fondly, but annoyingly too, that when many years ago, when my wife's grandfather was living, he would come home. He was a vet. He was a security officer. All kinds of things. He would come home and he would crank the TV up, and nobody in the household could. There was no other conversation. You just couldn't have a conversation because he needed the TV that loud to be able to kind of follow what was going along. And I remember at that time, where we were with technology 20 years ago, our answer was, let's buy him some headphones or something that we can plug in the back of the TV so he can have it as loud as he wants, but then we can at least have a conversation with the rest of the house. But what you're explaining now is that there's a much better way to approach that whole thing, which would be, let's get them fitted with hearing aids that would really just change the quality of his life.
Yeah, that's right. It's very significant in the quality of life issue, because if we just sat down watching TV all day, we could buy headsets, crank them up, and we wouldn't have to worry about it. But that's not what we do or what we should do.
Right.
Even in that situation, if Dad is watching TV and he has those headsets on, how can you even communicate with him? You're just isolating him further.
Well, and that's another point. And Lord knows, as we've been through all the COVID stuff, that's been a big challenge. But then I gather when I see all these ads, oh, don't let them tell you need a high-priced hearing aid. You can just get this over-the-counter one, and it's cheap, and this will do everything you need. And yet that seems awful suspect, because to me it sounds a lot like the headphone solution that we were trying 20 years ago.
Well, yeah, it is. Only I think the headphone solution is actually at least a solution for television. Some of these over-the-counter hearing aids probably won't do much, if anything, for the substantial hearing losses that people have by the time they come to the point of recognizing that they do need help.
Yeah, and also now that I'm thinking about it, this is probably closer to 30 years ago, not 20, because this was like 90s. But that's one of the things, I guess, too, that most of us aren't aware of. In that 30 years, the amount of technological progress has gone from something that might work part of the time to something that's really reliable, even to the point I've heard you describe that you're able to even tweak things via the phone.
Yeah, we do have remote programming now, and all of this is a result of the computer age. I started fitting hearing aids in the 80s, and right when we were coming upon the computer technology epoch. So at that time, we had analog hearing aids. You remember, they filled up the ear with a big volume control that you would crank until it whistled and then back it off a little bit, you know.
Right.
And we'd take an impression of the ear and make a hearing aid out of that impression. There were probably 200 hearing aid companies at that time. When the first digital hearing aid was manufactured in the late 90s, that really changed everything. Now it became a highly technological business. Companies had to hire engineers, sound engineers, and audio specialists in order to produce product. That made most of the companies non-competitive. So out of all those hundreds of hearing aid companies, they were whittled down to basically 6. And
Wow.
those same 6 are still selling 90% of all quality hearing aids today.
Wow.
So it's a field that requires layers of technology. From digital hearing, it went on to multi-channel hearing, to compression, to directional, to et cetera. Every year there were patents, dozens of patents that were piled on top of patents that existed previously. So it would be very challenging, to say the least, for somebody to break into this market with a hearing aid for $20 that you're going to put on your ear and it's going to work.
I hear what you're saying. So we have actually arrived at the mid-show break, so we're going to continue our conversation with John Roberts of Palm Bay Hearing Aid Center, and also with Dr. Kevin Kilday of Holistic Health Center right after our mid-show break. Join us for Helping Seniors Radio.
Here on 90.3 FM, you're listening to Helping Seniors of Brevard, heard every Wednesday, 12 noon to 1 o'clock. Let's get back now to more of the show. Here's Kerry Fink. Kerry?
Thank you, John Harper. And yes, why don't you go ahead and mark it on your calendar. Just plan every Wednesday, 12 noon, to join us here on 90.3 FM, WEJF radio. Even better yet, grab some friends, make it your lunch hour together, and enjoy some of the great senior information radio that comes along each week. And so on behalf of Joe Steckler, our president and founder, Kim Bernard, our education specialist, we're continuing our discussion. It was a great discussion, actually, we were having over the break. Our guest in the studio today is John Roberts, who is, I'm going to try this again, we'll see if I get any closer, nationally board certified in hearing aid special.
Real close, Kerry. Real close.
I'm getting closer. Okay.
Hearing instrument.
Hearing
Specialist.
instrument
There you go.
specialist. Okay. So anyway, in essence, it means he knows what he's talking about. And John runs the Palm Bay Hearing Aid Center, which is like the place to go and get your hearing situation figured out. And then also in the studio with us, we have Dr. Kevin Kilday, who is a holistic health practitioner. In fact, he's such a holistic health practitioner, he's in charge of a college of holistic health healing, natural health healing, and actually trains others on how to do this as well. And so we're going to actually spend the bulk of the second half of this show talking about testing. You know, they've talked to us for a while about, get a COVID test so you know if you have to be careful around people or if you need to quarantine. And there's a lot of things tests can accomplish. So we're going to talk about hearing tests, but then we're going to talk also about something that Dr. Kevin Kilday is ready to talk about, which is some things about a 4-in-1 test that can help you with food, non-food, environment, low vitamin, understanding where you are and things to do, and also are you toxic? We're going to see how testing can help all that. But while we were in the break, and I wanted to share this because it was really interesting, Dr. Kevin turns to John Roberts and says, can you tell if the hearing from our generation is worse maybe than previous generations? And I was sitting there thinking like, well, our generation grew up, going to rock concerts, and they would always talk about, I remember for many years reading in the Guinness Book of World Records, the loudest concert sound ever recorded was Deep Purple, and it was like 120 decibels or something, and I have no idea, what that means, but it sure sounded loud, and so I was asking, we were talking about this during the break, is today's folks having different levels of hearing loss maybe because of that than before? And your answer, I thought, John Roberts, was actually a bit unexpected.
Yeah, I guess so. The actual percentage of people with a significant hearing loss has been unchanged for at least a half a century since we began keeping such records.
So even when your parents told you you're listening to that rock and roll too loud, maybe it wasn't quite as bad as they were making it all out to be. I don't know.
I fit a big percentage of my fittings are musicians. So
wow.
To get back to that, but the reason is because if you are up there playing the music, you're very close to the speakers and for extreme amounts of time. And time is the factor in noise exposure. So if you went to a rock concert a few times a year, you might have been getting 10, 20 hours of excessive noise. That goes towards your lifetime allotment of loud noise that you can tolerate, that you can have. Now, most hearing losses are a result of a combination of factors. We think the biggest one is heredity, but in our lifestyles now, we are exposed to a lot of what's known as noise pollution. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of traffic that we didn't have 150 years ago. A lot, just music and TV, all these things are cumulative. So besides maybe having a genetic predisposition to hearing loss, you have to add in those concerts. You have to add in that time that you spent working on engines. If you were employed at a factory, that can play a huge role in your hearing loss. Ototoxic medications, even aspirin taken in excess, and for some people, small amounts, can tear those hairs in the inner ear, in the cochlea, down. So right now there are approximately 38 million people in the United States with a significant hearing loss.
Wow.
Which breaks down to around 15% roughly of the population. That's exactly what it was in the 80s, in the 60s, in the 50s.
Wow.
And it probably will be in 2090.
I thought that was really, really kind of surprising because, it's so funny. Last night, my wife and I were watching, don't laugh, we were watching an old episode of Columbo. Remember the guy with the trench coat? And he go, just one more question here. And so there was a scene, and they're out at the shooting range, and nobody's wearing hearing protectors, and we were like horrified. I'm like, I'm surprised these guys can hear today. But I guess it still makes sense to take all those precautions. But I guess that's one of the things that I did want to cover before we move over to talking about the testing that Dr. Kilday is talking about, and that is the importance of testing your hearing because it's free, right?
Yes, it is. If you're going to get hearing aids or you're going to consider hearing aids, you need to be evaluated. A hearing test doesn't just tell you how much hearing loss you have. It also tells you what sensitivities you may have for loudness. When you develop a hearing loss, your tolerance for loudness can be decreased in a huge amount in certain frequencies. Without that knowledge, it's impractical to try to even fit a hearing aid.
So even if you saw an ad on TV and they say, we can just send this to you, it's going to be fine. It's really not going to be fine because they don't even know where you. I remember you used some very technical terms about like even how certain sounds are made, and those you said there's certain sounds that come out in speech that are more tricky for the brain to figure out what they are, and that's why they need to have the ability to have good hearing to be able to correctly sort out those sounds.
Yes, Kerry, the the soft letters in speech, like the letters S, F, V, fricatives like TH and SH, need to be heard equally as loud as the louder letters, like vowels, A, E, I. Those come out very strong. If you have a high frequency hearing loss, they will not come out equally. You probably won't hear those soft sounds. So that has to be compensated for in any electrical device with a amplification ability.
And so I guess one of the reasons why someone might be hesitant to give your office a call is they're not sure maybe they can afford the expense or something. But from what you've taught us is let's not start there. Let's get you in. Let's do the hearing check and figure out where we are. So at the very least, even if you don't need something right now, you have a baseline to come back and check against.
Oh, that's right. And, I had a wonderful lady that came in yesterday. She said, look, I'm not here to buy hearing aids. I can't afford them.
Right.
But when we dug into it, she had a hearing loss. She needed hearing aids. But she had an excellent insurance package that she wasn't even aware of. And we're finding more and more of these all the time. So
good.
Come in. We'll see what we can do. At least you'll have the knowledge and we can make a plan.
Right. So how do people call Palm Bay Hearing Aid Center and John Roberts to maybe get an appointment, have a free hearing evaluation, and just know where you are on that whole scale?
Dial area code 321-369-9900.
So one more time.
321-369-9900.
And you have a great, beautiful office that's literally very accessible from pretty much any place in Brevard County because you're just right off I-95 at Palm Bay Road exit.
That's right off of Culver. You can see us from the highway.
Yeah, so it's good. So that's John Roberts, Palm Bay Hearing Aid Center. And so now, Dr. Kevin Kilday, we're going to pick on you a little bit about testing. And this one I thought was particularly interesting when you're talking about you can have a 4-in-1 test. And you're going to learn about stuff that you have sensitivity to. I think you call it a sensitivity test.
Yes, I call it a sensitivity test, not to be confused with a allergy test. Mm-hmm. The original name is actually a food intolerance test, but it's also called a sensitivity test, and it's not just for food. Because it will give you a whole list of foods that you have a sensitivity to. That doesn't mean that you're allergic to it, but you could be having some mild symptoms of of gas, or you're just making you feel uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. That your body is sensitive to a particular food, mm-hmm. and but it not only does food, but it also does non-food items, such as like fabrics and cleaning materials, trees, grasses, flowers, dust mites, animals. Now, again, not to be confused with an allergy. Okay, this is a sensitivity, meaning that you'll feel, you might feel some mild symptoms, being exposed to these particular things, and also there's metals. Now these are just considered not toxic metals. That's a totally different test. But even though some toxic metals do show up. But you may have a sensitivity, like one woman had on there. She was sensitive towards magnesium, and right away, she says, "Well, does that mean I can't take my supplement magnesium anymore?" And I said that no. Magnesium is also a product of metal. It's a component of metal. Mm-hmm. Like a piece of steel. Mm-hmm. Would have magnesium in it. It would have zinc in it, mm-hmm. and so as far as I mean, she would probably have a problem in a welding shop where there's a lot of metal dust flying through the air or something. Mm-hmm. You see, mm-hmm. but not the vitamin, magnesium.
So this kind of gives you like a things to be on the lookout for.
Right, exactly, and it also tells you certain trees and certain certain grasses, like what they call it, Bahama grass or Bahia grass, whatever it is. It will list them, And but also it gives you your vitamin, not sensitivities now. When it comes to vitamin, it will actually tell you your vitamin imbalances, what you're deficient in.
Okay.
So that's the that's the fourth one.
Now, what are
So
you
you have
seeing-
food,
Yeah.
and then you got non-food, then you got the vitamin deficiencies, and then you have metal sensitivities.
And what do you see as like people get these tests back? Are they able to take those results and implement them in a way that helps them know what to avoid, I guess, or particularly like if you're talking about vitamins, maybe
Right.
areas that they need to really focus in on?
Yes, well, the vitamins actually, like I said, the vitamins will not show a sensitivity, but it will show a deficiency in your vitamins. So, I may recommend, it's a lot of small amounts of B vitamins that you might be low on or whatever. And I would just recommend like a multivitamin. But but there are some, ones in particular like alpha lipoic acid might be real low, which is very critical, and other supplements also would show up as being deficient.
Now, I may be confusing this conversation, but I know that we talked about, particularly when we were doing some helping seniors updates about the COVID and things like that, and you were actually making the recommendation: make sure you get outside a little bit, in a safe way, get some sunshine because you're going to get your vitamin D and things like that.
Right. Vitamin D is, I think, is one of the most important vitamins out there, and they're starting to find that the majority of the population, could be deficient in vitamin D. They're even talking about raising the recommended daily allowance of vitamin D, which is only at 400 international units. So they're talking about raising that amount to what I don't know, but it's what I personally do is I take a lot of extra vitamin D because the research I've seen it's a good preventative for COVID. It's an immune system builder, and it also helps your bones, and it's just a great overall supplement. And I have written an article about that. What supplements to take for prevention of COVID, or just prevention of overall viruses and flus and colds. And I just narrowed it down to 4. I mean, I recommend everybody to take at least a good quality multivitamin, and then add some extra C, add some extra D, and add some extra zinc. With those 4 things, you can have a strong immune system and stay away from the hopefully the colds and flu and the COVID and
stuff like that
and all that. Yeah.
Well, you actually wrote an article that shows up in the April edition of Helping Seniors. And by the way, folks, as you've been hearing us talk with John Roberts with the Palm Bay Hearing Aid Center here in our area, and also Dr. Kevin Kilday of the Holistic Health Center. We've done numerous TV programs, radio shows. You guys have contributed many articles along the way that have really helped folks. And you know what? Those are all available. You can find them on the Helping Seniors website at helpingseniorsofbrevard.org. If you'd like to see the videos of the radio shows, we make sure that they are there, both on the Helping Seniors YouTube channel. So it's great to go subscribe. And then you could just type in hearing loss, or you could type in vitamin deficiency, and probably articles from you guys are going to come up. And the same goes for the radio shows. But you had written an article in this month's Senior Scene called "Your Medications Could Be Causing Nutrient Depletion." And so I'm thinking, as you're talking about this test, that would help you understand if some of that is going on, right?
Exactly. Yes. If you're taking medications, this is a very good article to look over because in this current issue, because I've taken the leading prescribed drugs without naming any names.
Right.
And like, for instance, cholesterol lowering medications are one of the top prescribed medications in this country. However, and there's even been commercials on TV that to take some CoQ10 because it's been shown to lower your CoQ10 in your body. It also lowers your vitamin E. Also, a lot of people take high blood pressure medications. There's a lot of them out there. So, you could be having some depletion of calcium and magnesium, zinc, CoQ10, melatonin, B6. So, and the list goes on. I mean, there's steroid drugs for inflammation that are commonly used for for pain and arthritis and things like that.
But that's another argument, right, for taking this 4-in-1 test, because you're going to get some sort of a sense for where you fit on that low vitamin scale too, right?
Exactly. And like I said, it's a 4-in-1. So the vitamin deficiency part of it is only one part of the test.
Now, is this invasive? Does it really?
Oh, no. It just requires a few strands of hair, and in the hair, contrary to what people believe, it is not pulled out of your head. It's just cut, close to the scalp, and we only need 10 strands of hair, for the test.
Is this an expensive test?
Oh, no. The test, which includes both consultations. I mean, the first consultation is not really a consultation; it's just to get the hair sample,
right?
To show you show you a sample test results, to have you get a little education of what you're going to see on result, and then I get the hair sample, and that only takes a half hour at the most. And then I send it off, and I get the results back in about a week. Mm-hmm. Then I contact you, and then we get back together again for at least an hour, and we go over the test results, and
okay.
I make my supplement recommendations, and and what they do with the food. If you find some food sensitivities. What they do is, just real quickly, is they recommend what they call an elimination plan, or I hate to use the word diet because it's not really a diet. What you do is you remove that particular food from your diet for a period of time, a week or two, and then reintroduce it to see if you do have a
real sensitivity,
a reaction, or if some of your physical symptoms might be reduced if you're having some problems with some food.
Got it. So we're going to move on to and ask about this are you toxic thing. But before we do that, if somebody is interested.
You asked me about the cost.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
Go right ahead.
But the total cost is $95. And that includes the consultations with me, just a short consultation and a longer one for the second one to go over the results. And you get a copy of the test also, and total cost is $95.
It's affordable, and it sounds very useful. If somebody's interested, how do they get in touch with you?
Yes, my phone number is 321-549-0711. 321-549-0711. I'm the only one that answers the phone. If you get my voicemail, I always try to call you back by the end of the business day. And also my website is holistichealthcenter.us. And there's a lot of valuable information on there. Unfortunately, my computer guy has not gotten this article up on my website yet, but I think I may put it on today as a blog article, and that way people can access it through the blog on my website.
Good. Well, before we get down to the end of the show, I just wanted to ask you also about this other test that you're talking about, that Are You Toxic? Get Tested. You called it a hair mineral analysis. Now, this is something a little bit different?
Yes. This is more this is much more detailed, and this targets your toxic levels of carcinogenic heavy metals. For instance, mercury, lead, aluminum, arsenic, or cadmium. Those are the five very toxic heavy metals, as they call them, and most of us always have at least one or two, and they're like aluminum, for instance, is associated, elevated toxic levels of aluminum has been associated with Alzheimer's, has been associated with Parkinson's disease, and just a laundry list of diseases, and it's also a carcinogen. So it tests very accurately, those levels, as well as your mineral levels, like your calcium and magnesium and zinc. And in this particular case, unlike the other tests where it just shows a deficiency in it, this one here actually shows your actual level.
Right.
And it's very important because these minerals work together, like calcium, magnesium work synergistically together. Copper and zinc work synergistically together. If one's low and one's high, you're going to experience some symptoms. They may be mild, or they could be chronic, or whatever the case may be. But it's a very good test, and on that particular test, you actually get a 40-page report on that test. The first half is a summary of your test results, and the second half is the long version, and that one requires you to fill out a health questionnaire that goes along with the test. Like the other tests, it requires 2 meetings. But the first meeting, you fill out a health questionnaire. I get a hair sample and send it out, and then when the report comes back, the 40-page report, I sit down with you at least for 90 minutes and go over this thing in detail, page by page.
That sounds good. So we're really down to the end of the show, but it sounds like in your case, Dr. Kevin Kilday, somebody needs to give you a call, kind of have a quick go over everything, then you can kind of lead them, guide them as to the right test or the right sequence of tests. How do people, let's go through the phone numbers to reach you one more time.
Sure. Phone number is 321-549-0711. 321-549-0711. And the website's holistichealthcenter.us.
Yep.
And the hair mineral analysis testing is on my website.
Good. And John Roberts from Palm Bay Hearing Aid Center. So one more time, if somebody wants to take advantage of getting a free hearing evaluation and really understanding where they are, what's the number to reach you?
321-369-9900.
One more time.
321-369-9900.
And you also have a very informative website as well, so you got to search for Palm Bay Hearing Aid Center. And I think with that, we've kind of reached the end of our show. So on behalf of Joe Steckler, our president and founder, Kim Bernard, our education specialist, we all look forward to seeing you next week, 12 noon, Wednesday, right here on WEJF Radio for Helping Seniors Radio.